If you could please call the roll.
Fritz. Here. Fish.
Here.
Saltzman.
Here.
Daly. Here. Miller.
Here. So a couple of housekeeping items first of all. There are a ton of people here, and that's a great thing. It's a good thing for democracy. However, we are not allowed to block the aisles. So I want to make people aware that there is an overflow room in the Portland building. It's the blue building right across the street in the auditorium on the second floor. When we get to the point of public testimony, you won't be left out if you're there. The clerk will call names 6 deep, so you'll have plenty of time to be able to make your way over here to the council chambers.
Except if you're disabled.
Testify, and it's my understanding there's already quite a few people there. So that's the first thing. I want to let you know the order of things. I'm going to speak very briefly on the, I'm going to take a liberty as the presiding officer and speak very briefly to item 106. We'll then go to 105, which is what the majority of people are here to discuss. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Commissioner Daly. She will introduce the joint item. She will then introduce invited testimony. I'll then ask my colleagues if there are any amendments that they would like to place on the table, and I know that there are some amendments that will be placed at that time. And then we'll go into the public testimony, assuming there aren't further board or council deliberations at that particular time. I want to be very emphatic today about allowing people's testimony to be heard. This is an issue that people are very passionate about. There are lots of different opinions on these issues, and everybody has a right to be heard respectfully in this room. So I would ask, if you like what you're hearing, give a thumbs up. If you don't like what you're hearing, you can give a thumbs down, that's fine, but we don't have time for cheering. We certainly don't want booing or other expressions. We want to be respectful for all people, and Commissioner Daly and I have agreed that that is how we would like to comport this meeting today so that everybody has an opportunity to be heard. When we get to the general testimony, I know that there are a number of people with small children who are here, and given that this testimony is probably going to go on for quite some time, I'd like to offer people with small children the ability to come up first in the queue, or people who might have some disabilities that require them to come up early in the queue, or others who have hardships that require them to come forward in the queue. I'd ask that they please get the clerk's attention, or when they sign up for public testimony, when you sign up for public testimony, just to note that, that would be very helpful, and we'll try and accommodate you first. So without further ado, with the agreement of my colleagues, Commissioner Daly and I would like to withdraw item number 106. Instead, what we have decided to do is draft a letter. It's essentially a mayoral directive. It goes to the Office of Management and Finance as well as the City Budget Office. What it seeks to do is reduce the cost, the time, and any, for lack of a better word, hassle factor associated with bringing affordable housing online in the city of Portland. It was being brought as a resolution, but in conversations with my colleagues, we don't need to have a resolution. I believe through directive, I can get this process going. It's a part of the ongoing budget process. Commissioner Daly, who co-introduced Resolution 106 with me, is in concurrence. I've had a chance to meet with my fellow commissioners, and we're all in agreement, particularly given the time that item number 105 is going to take, that it's best if we withdraw 106 and simply make that a mayoral directive. So that is what I'm going to do with the agreement of my colleagues. So ordered. Clerk, if you could read the next and only item for today's meeting. And I should have mentioned one other thing. It is now 2:15. We're going to try and get out of here at 6. So we'll do a reassessment at about 5:30 and see where we are with regard to public testimony. And we may take a break or two over the course of the hearing for what Commissioner Fish likes to call humanitarian purposes. So with that, please read the item.
Item 105, amend affordable housing preservation and Portland renter protections to add relocation assistance for involuntary displacements of tenants.
Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mayor. Colleagues, community members, and special guests, thank you for joining us today to hear testimony on this relocation emergency ordinance. First, some housekeeping items. Parents and care providers who set up a child care room on the 3rd floor with snacks and crafts. I think most of you have discovered it. But if you haven't, please check in with Pollyanna at the front desk in my office, which is just to your left out here, on this floor before proceeding to the 3rd floor. We have asked most of our invited guests, or guests giving invited testimony, to limit their testimony to 3 minutes, so we can move on quickly to open up the conversation to public comment. Depending on the number of people who signed up to comment, I heard that it was over 100. We may need to reduce the time to 3 minutes at some point in order to hear from everyone before that 5:30 cutoff. I want to encourage you, if your point has been made, to perhaps not repeat it and just come forward and express your support, and save some time for people coming up behind you. And also think about the most essential message you have to share in case you're going to have to edit a few minutes down to 2 or 1. We have arranged for interpreters for Spanish and Cantonese speakers to assist with testimony, and those speakers will be given extra time to accommodate interpretation. Finally, I just want to reiterate what Mayor Miller has requested, that we do keep disruptions to a minimum, because as much as we love to yell and cheer, that does take time away from public testimony and heats up the room. So I would like to see a lot of twinkle fingers today, or thumbs and whatever. Okay, so I've been living and breathing affordable housing and tenants' rights issues for the past 2 years. It's what inspired me to run for city council, and is in no small part why I was elected. Because the fact is, the majority of Portlanders support rent stabilization and increasing tenant protections. Some people have asked me, what's the rush on this ordinance? The fact is, members of my team were working on relocation for months before we took office, and this housing crisis has been growing for the past decade. So we have to ask, what's taking so long? Emotions are high on both sides of this debate. For the past 30 years, landlords have been allowed to involuntarily displace tenants through no-cause and de facto economic evictions. And now we're asking them to share in the burden that has been wrought on our residents, our communities, our city, and our entire region. The fact is, we're all paying for this crisis, whether it's with the public dollars we spend on affordable housing, rental assistance, and homelessness, or the various ways that this crisis is harming our neighborhoods, communities, schools, small businesses, local economy, and the overall quality of life for all of our residents. As former Secretary of Labor Robert Reich recently said, governing by anecdote is not governing, it's demagoguery. And it's been disappointing and frustrating to witness opponents to tenant protections, whether community members, lobbyists, or legislators, resort to playing on the public's emotions and prejudices rather than basing their positions on facts. But I'm going to share a personal anecdote with you today anyway. My parents became landlords in 1979 when they bought their second home and moved our family from Gales Creek to Sherwood. Early on, they made a misjudgment in tenants and ended up having to evict them for non-payment of rent and other serious infractions. The tenants responded by breaking every window in the house, filling it with garbage, and using it as a dog kennel for an untold number of days. So you can imagine what that looked like. My father was driving home from assessing and photographing the damage on a rainy day in October 1983. He lost control of his vehicle on a tight curve, hit an oncoming truck, and died instantly. So, if you've come here today to conjure up the bad tenant boogeyman, the one that precludes us from protecting any tenants lest we somehow benefit him. Please save your breath. I have already met him. And I recognize him for what he is, an anomaly among an ocean of big tenants who follow the rules, who desperately need their deposits back, who are highly dependent on their landlord's good reference, and in one of the most competitive rental markets the city has ever seen. If you have a bad tenant, you have clear legal recourse, and the law is weighted in the landlord's favor. We don't call our eviction court an eviction mill for nothing. If you've come here today to argue exemptions for mom-and-pop landlords who may experience some level of financial hardship if required to pay relocation assistance, let me remind you, landlords have been placing that very same hardship on tenants who are generally lower income and have less financial resources than property owners. This is a temporary emergency ordinance intended to stabilize or assist renters at risk of involuntary displacement during our housing crisis. We hope that it will be short-lived, but that will require the state legislature to overturn the ban on rent control and give the city back its regulatory tools. In the meantime, there's an easy way to avoid relocation assistance. Do not no-cause evict your tenants, and don't raise their rent 10% or more per year.
Again, I
Sorry.
thumbs up or
I got
jazz hands.
distracted by the twinkle fingers. Okay.
It's hard to get used to, I understand.
If you've come here today to tell us we must simply build our way out of this crisis, I can confidently tell you, as the Commissioner in charge of the Bureau of Development Services, and someone with a newfound inside view of our Housing Bureau, it will take decades to build our way out. And that's only if developers are willing to start building for existing demand, which is not the market rate and luxury housing they are primarily delivering. If you've come here today to suggest that renters just move or get better jobs, it shows an utter lack of understanding around who is taking the brunt of the impact created by our housing crisis. Seniors and people with disabilities living on fixed incomes don't have the resources to move or the ability to get better jobs. People of color who have faced historic and ongoing discrimination in both the housing and the job markets also tend to have more limited resources and options. Telling someone with limited resources to leave behind their family, their friends, and their community in search of elusive, affordable housing elsewhere is terrible advice. Finally, this is not a landlord versus tenants conversation. We are not seeking to demonize or penalize landlords, but we are asking them to recognize their role in our housing crisis and share in the burden they're creating, not just for their renters, but our entire city when they choose to involuntarily displace a renter through no fault of the renter. We've heard from many landlords who support this ordinance, some of whom will be testifying today, who know that they can profitably operate their business, whether they choose to avoid triggering relocation or not. We don't blame landlords for not recognizing how the forces of urban renewal, gentrification, displacement, and limited tenant protections converged to create this crisis over the past 30 years. But there's no denying the outcome. Half our residents are renters. Half of renters are cost-burdened by rent. And half of those renters, approximately 75,000 people, live in households that are spending over 50% of their income on housing. These households are being forced to choose between paying rent and paying the heating bill, paying rent and paying for vital medical care, paying rent and paying the grocery bill. This is unsustainable, it's unacceptable, and none of the good people of Portland, renters, homeowners, or landlords, should be willing to sit idly by and let this crisis continue unchecked. We'll now bring up our Bible. Yes. Starting with our staff presentation from Jamie Duhamel, Policy Director for my office, Matt Schabel, Portland Housing Bureau, and Mark Jolen from Home for Everyone.
And I just want to remind people about council rules. If you are a lobbyist, please state so for the record. If you represent an organization, please state that too. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Jamie Duhamel. I'm the